Just quickly wanting to show you something positive. Look at this lovely thing that's down by the local church. It's called the Bread Shed, although we lovingly refer it to the Sneeze Cupboard, and it's a local community thing. Lovely idea. Basically any excess bread items that local companies have, they can donate and then they are given away to the local community. What a lovely idea. I call it the Sneeze Cupboard because basically you can come along, have a little look in there, root around, sneeze all over the food and leave everything for the next person. It's lunchtime, so it's a little bit empty, but there's still a nice little selection in there. Have a look at that. And today on the Mushroom Diaries, I've got a whole load more mushrooms ready to pick. The moment of truth. That's 552 grams of lovely oyster mushrooms. Well, I just thought I should do a quick video. It's been quite a rough few days, if I'm completely frank about it. It's quite hard to explain why. Well, it's not really hard to explain why at all, but lots of reasons all coming together. First of all, work's a big issue. Working as a doctor at the moment, as I keep saying, isn't the most pleasant of jobs in the world. Everybody's angry because they can't get what they want when they want it. It just makes it a bit difficult when you do your absolute best to do the best for people and get treated as the bad guy as well. And it's just generally soul destroying. I maybe get 5, 10, 15 minutes off during the course of the day, and then the rest of the day is flat out. I mean, it's not like working in a building site where you're physically exhausted, but it's mentally exhausting. I don't know if anyone ever remembers the 3-hour exams when they were at school. Every day really is a bit like one of those exams, except instead of only being 3 or 4 hours long, it's 12 solid hours. So imagine doing one of those 12-hour school exams every day, or at least every day you're working. Unfortunately, after a lot of training, there's not really much else that I can think of doing. I mean, there would be other jobs if I lived nearer the big cities, but I quite like where I am, so that leaves a dilemma. You know, do we move to somewhere we don't want to be, or carry on with a job that isn't much fun? So, I mean, it's a shame, really. It would be quite nice to be near a city. I could do some sort of research job or educational job or a whole load of other potential things, but those options really aren't available locally, so I kind of only know how to do one thing. And as anyone who does a professional job will know, anyone who doesn't do a professional job kind of struggles to understand the stresses and the nuances and the details of the job. Even my mum sort of suggested that I do an NVQ in counselling or something, and that would be an alternative. I mean, obviously there's a big need for mental health work, but anyway, that sort of makes it a bit difficult because I can't leave the work because I'm needing the money for all this treatment and everything that comes afterwards. I potentially could increase the hours and earn a little bit more, but I physically can't face doing another hour more than I do. I'm struggling even with the hours that I'm doing. So it's a bit of a catch-22. I'm out in the shed just now. I'm making some stands for Tamsin's glasswork. She does some really pretty sort of ammonite-y things, and they need little wooden stands, so I'm getting cracking on making those. I'm just also finishing off a little quick birdhouse. The sparrows or starlings, I think it's sparrows, have a birdhouse on the side of the house which is starting to disintegrate with old age, so I thought I'd make a quick house for them to go in. Unfortunately, I didn't take the gluing time into account, so for about half an hour to an hour's worth of work, I'm needing to take about 2 weeks of waiting for various bits to glue up, which is a bit frustrating. Anyway, so the next bit is done and it's sitting outside and drying off, and I might even be able to do another step today just because it's warm, so hopefully the bit that I've glued will be cured before the end of the day. We'll see. But first, let's get the saw out and let's start making some stands. Everything cut to size and now getting ready to glue it together. And 5 minutes of gluing and clamping later, there we go. Now I just need to stand here and watch the glue dry. And another work in progress, here is the birdhouse. Good evening. I've put the varnish on the bases for the ammonite, so that's drying and that'll take a few days to harden up properly and cure. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to make a few more branded t-shirts for this channel, just to match the one I'm wearing just now. A bit like this, but I'm going to do the logo in different colours. As you can see, I cut that on my Cricut machine. Interestingly, the Americans call them Cricut machines, but as it's spelt Cricut and as it's literally a cutting machine, I think I'm going to carry on calling it a Cricut. You saw me doing the weeding of the vinyl. I used my head torch there so I can see the cuts. It's really difficult to see where the cuts are on the thing without a direct light on. And this is my anatomy dissecting kit from the first year of medical school. I never actually used it at medical school because I didn't want to get it dirty, so I have to admit I always use somebody else's kit instead. So it's sat in a drawer unused and perfectly clean for quite a few years. It's been really useful for this kind of project though. It's also really useful when I'm wrapping up Christmas presents. Now this is the t-shirt all set up and on the ironing board. I've run the iron over it quickly just because it helps to sort of dry it out a little bit before I apply the transfer. Then I simply pop the design in place and run the iron over it. Then fingers crossed. Ta-da! And this is t-shirt number 2. I've done the ironing bit already. And that's the second one done. Just look at the shimmeriness of the vinyl, changing from purple to blue and back again depending on the angle. I really like that look. Good morning! I'm in bright and early on this Wednesday morning because I've just had a reminder that it's my appraisal in 2 weeks. I don't know if anyone's ever had an appraisal before, but in general practice it's nothing like that. Basically, our appraisals are sort of a weird pseudo-disciplinary kind of thing, and the government and the NHS England sort of trying to catch us out. The people who do the appraisals are quite decent, and they do it for the right sort of reason, but the underpinning concept is basically to try and cover the backs of the people in charge by proving that we've ticked all the right tick boxes over the last year. There's stuff like child protection, which obviously is a really important concept, but we have to do the same package every single year, basically to say that if we think children are being abused, we need to report it. Now, that's not rocket science, especially when the system's so broken. Anyway, I've got the kettle on and it's boiling now, so that's the most important bit of my morning, and then I get to go and sit down in front of a computer for a little bit. Well, that was an interesting morning, as ever, the typical situation of being far too busy and permanently running miles behind, which is a bit frustrating, but unfortunately that's the nature of the game. Good morning, it's a new day and I'm chirpy and cheerful and ready to go and ready to face everything that's thrown at me again. Doctor, I've got these really bad symptoms. I can't stand the symptoms, but I've tried every single medication that exists to try, and I don't like those either. I don't know what to do. Anyway, so I'm just logging in, and what have I got on the list? Okay. And I'm just trying to build up the psychological reserves to call my first patient in. I'm not sure if I can do it. So I managed to get through my first patient, which I'm really proud of. Just reading through the messages now. So I've just got a message to say that patient's called in to tell us that she is allergic to anti-allergy medications. So now I'm reading through the visit list. First patient is someone who had an ambulance called yesterday. She's still got the emergency problem after they didn't take her in. That sounds like it's an emergency and she needs an ambulance. Then a welfare check. social care is very important, but it's not a medical problem. Then there's someone else for a social visit, and then there's someone else with a post-operative complication. Now clearly that's post-operative and that needs to go back to the specialists. I think part of the problem why we're so busy is because we're just trying to do everyone else's work. Well, that all went a little bit crackers. I've just had paramedics on the phone, people dying, people needing to go into hospital. Anyway, I'm just off on a visit to a patient that I wanted to go and see. Crikey, what an afternoon. So I've had a patient who I've been speaking to the ambulance and dealing with the paramedics all afternoon. As well as that, I've had a newborn baby in who we've had to send into hospital. And also, I dealt with a really angry person who complained because I didn't see his rash fast enough.